Hello, my name is Coleman Parkerson. I'm going to be presenting my Zappos project research and what I found. So what I did is I got the Google Web Scraper, and on the Zappos site under the women's running shoes, specifically I believe it was for the road running shoes. I went through and scraped all the data. I did have to do this a few times, but I managed to get the correct set, in which I had 6,495 pieces. After some cleaning up, some removing all the repeats, and using my own judgment really to get rid of all the ones that either didn't have good logic in Excel or just had too small of a sample size, I got rid of, and I think I got 229 great points of data in which I used to analyze and gather some of these conclusions. So the first one was Reebok is by far the most price efficient, while Athletic Propulsion Labs, or APL, is by far the least. Any way you looked at the data, it was saying the same thing. When it comes to price efficiency, this being the price versus the ratings, Reebok was an all-star. It had an average price of $64.95 for their shoes, and overall had top marks, especially as you can see on the graph on the right here. Hopefully you can see my mouse. Reebok here, one of the cheapest shoes, but all across the board, fantastic. Meanwhile, we can see down here that APL shoe coming in at an average of a whopping $200, by far the most expensive shoe, did not perform very well. While it wasn't the least performing, it is something we don't expect to see from a shoe that is priced so heavily. This would be because the true to size was very poor, especially for the price, and so was the average mass, very low. As you can see here, you can look at the averages of the TTS and TTW, that being true to size, true to width. You can see how, again, Reebok perfectly. Just Athletic Propulsion Labs not doing so well, very low, especially when it comes to true to size. What we can see here is if you look at it going upwards from true to size, there isn't a real strong correlation with the width, which was interesting to see, but I think the more interesting point, which I'm going to make on the next slide here, is that consumers seem to care most about the comfort than anything else. So when we went to go look at not the actual brands themselves, but how the overall ratings were factored in, we saw positive correlations when it came to the comfort of the shoe rather than the style. So we see when rating an overall score, comfort definitely comes in first place. Now, style did come up pretty high as well with a 0.58. However, at a 0.7, comfort definitely took the lead. And looking at the charts here, we can see that price, very little correlation with the actual price versus the score. What did matter, however, was comfort and style, but primarily comfort. What we can draw from this is that the more expensive shoes went for more of style, while we see that comfort was a trait more seen with the more economic shoes. So in conclusion, sometimes the economy shoes are the best. So this is something that we didn't see a strong positive correlation between the price of the shoe and its effectiveness for the customer rating it highly. Reebok is a prime example, a very cheap shoe, but it was perfect. In fact, we saw no real positive correlation between it being expensive and being good. If anything, we saw that the cheaper ones focus more on being more comfortable, and since that's most heavily weighed, it almost seems almost always that going cheaper is your better bet for getting the most bang for your buck. Thank you. Again, my name is Coleman Parkinson, and this was my presentation.